Hi there, welcome to this week's Inside Track with Jim Delahunt, Scottish Sun's tipster. How are you, Jim? Looking forward to a good weekend's racing.
Good form, Robert. I hope you are too. Looking forward to an excellent weekend's racing. The countdown to Cheltenham continues, of course, but there's some big money to be won this weekend, and hopefully we'll manage to find our way onto a winner or two.
Well, we'll just start. Last week we brought the news that Sergino was out of his race on Saturday. Subsequently, the horse has been ruled out of Cheltenham. It looks touch and go for him. I mean, I heard Nicky Henderson yesterday talking about his medical condition. He seems to have an infection in his leg, which they're worried might spread. Terrible news for the Henderson yard because he looks a superstar. Terrible news for the festival as well, isn't it? Because that Arkle was shaping up to be one of the races of the week.
Yeah, Nicky Henderson's been really upfront about this from the word go. He broke the news last week while we were recording this programme, and that Sergino was out of the Saturday race. And as you say, he's out of Cheltenham. We just hope the horse recovers. Henderson's done nothing wrong in terms of the public. He's kept everybody well informed as to what's happening. It's a real shame. I mean, getting back to the vulgarities of betting, anyone who nicked the 94 about Magsborough last weekend is probably sitting very pretty now that it's going to be a very short priced odds-on favourite for the Arkle. But taking that aside, I hope Sergino gets back. It's always difficult for them when they have an injury like that to get back to their best. But in good hands with Nicky Henderson, and good luck to the team getting him back.
Yeah, he did get a little bit of cheer on Saturday in the William Hill Hurdle at Newbury. We won it with Joy Ouse. We thought might go favourite. She actually didn't go off as short a price as we thought she might. Now, with this quirk of you needing 5 runs to qualify for a
Yeah.
handicap, she's not going to have that now. Did you see them putting her in one of the graded races?
Yeah, just on that subject, I mean, I know there was a lot made of the fact that, oh dear, 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 she's not qualified for a handicap at Cheltenham, but my goodness, JP McManus employs some very highly paid brains to look after his race planning, and they knew exactly what the score was. To get in that race for 150 grand last week, they had to be on that mark to get in with a winning chance. So they obviously knew that they weren't going to get an extra run in terms of Cheltenham. So well done them for plotting it up. I was a wee bit disappointed in Nico de Boinville's post-race interview when he said that the horse had done an absolutely amazing piece of work the previous Tuesday, which, funnily enough, hadn't made its way into his Unibet blog. But apart from that, we'll put that to one side. And well done, Joy Hughes. My selection finished third, ran a good race, running on at the end. Probably needs further now. That was Navajo Indy. But well done, Joy Hughes, and well done everybody who flagged that up and got on.
I mean, she's been hiked up £15 for that. Can you see her
Yeah,
being competitive in the Mayor's Hurdle if that's what they do with her?
she's certainly got the breeding. I mean, she's very closely related to Epitante, and if they, well, I think they're going to have to step her up in class now. And good luck to them. At this stage, I wouldn't even be thinking of her as a betting opportunity. Those of us who should have backed her last weekend should have backed her last weekend, and let's just see what she does now.
Then we've got Wincanton this week where you've got the Kingwell Hurdle. Neither of us have got a bet in it, but Burdett Road goes for this. Probably his chance to show if he's going to be competitive in a champion hurdle. He has to come out and blow this field apart, doesn't he?
He really does. He's done not very little wrong so far. I think he should win this race on Saturday, the Kingwell Hurdle. It's been used in the past for quite a few horses as a stepping stone to the champion hurdle at Cheltenham. I hope he runs well. I hope he wins. I hope he adds a new dimension to the champion hurdle. But I just suspect that even if he wins and he wins well, he's not really going to be in the equation at the front of the market. So I think we're really going to be concentrating on all these Irish horses, and principally as the weeks get closer to Cheltenham, brighter days ahead, because it does look increasingly likely, Robert, that that's going to run.
Yeah. We had also the Grand National Weights Lunch, the annual jolly up in Liverpool, where they released the handicap marks for the big one in April. Did anything from that stick out to you? Did you get any pointers?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the weights coming in when I was working down at Ayr on Tuesday, and I note that 87 horses are left in. 47 of them are Irish. JP McManus has the top three in the betting. I don't think MD will be too surprised about that. He's got 8 horses guaranteed a run. Now that takes me back to all those highly paid advisors he's got. He's managed to get these horses into the handicap. He might even have a ninth one in there because he's got one in at number 43, which it wouldn't be unheard of for a horse in at 43 to make the top 30. So JP's got the stranglehold on this race as far as I'm concerned. And the one I like is a one that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Robert, Iroko. All the fuss about his run at Cheltenham and the stewards having a look into that seems to have died down completely. They said after the race, oh, maybe he's not a certain runner at Aintree. Well, he is now, because he's got the weight that they wanted him to have, and it's the Greenall Guerriero team with Iroko. I think that's got a real good chance because he's effectively going to be next to bottom weight in a very limited handicap. I've always liked the horse. I've talked about him a lot on this programme and in the columns. I think at the moment at 12-1, he would be my initial selection for the Grand National. But as we all know, we like to keep our options open on the build up to the race. But certainly at 12-1, Iroko, I'd like to have him on side at the moment.
We've also got Beauport as guaranteed a run as well. He goes over hurdles again. We'll get to him later on when we look at the Rendlesham. But in a great symmetry, we've got the Grand National Trial at Haydock on Saturday. We've seen this race been running an absolute bog before. I remember old Silver by Nature winning it a couple of times.
Yeah.
He was black, but I don't really see a Grand National winner coming out of it this year. I mean, most of them won't get a run. Have you had a look at the race and what do you think of it? It's going to be running far better ground than it usually is.
Yeah, I'll be honest and say that I thought Sheena Nominee, the Fox Hunters winner, had a real chance in this if Fiona Needham had decided to run her rather the grey in this particular race, but she hasn't. She's going to wait for another day. Yeah, man, last year's winner, £11 higher this time around. If I was edging towards one, it would be that one, but that £11 just makes me worry slightly. Gallia, De Lito and Apple Away, I think you've had a look at those two, and I'm not sure what you think about their chances. You can tell me in a second, Robert. But yeah, man, I'd be edging towards him. Just a proviso with that horse, despite the fact that Gavin Cromwell's horses are running out of their skins at the moment. I did fancy this horse last time out. I think it was Gowran, and a bit disappointing. So let's see if he can repeat the feat at Haydock on Saturday in the 3.5 mile. I remember they call it a Grand National Trial, but it's a very valuable 100 grand handicap in its own right. And I'm sure Cromwell will have his horse primed up for that. But at the moment, no bet for me. I'm just going to have a look and learn day with that one.
Is there an argument for having it as a win in your in race? Just to open it up a little bit.
There really is, but I know a few races have been mentioned in that scenario before, and it hasn't happened. So yeah, it's worth the argument, Robert. Win one of these big trials and you're in at Aintree, but it's not going to happen for a while, and it's hard enough to get in the Aintree race. I don't think they're going to complicate it much further in the short term.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Apple Away in the race. She's coming down in the handicap. I mean, she won a Grade 1 over hurdles. She won a listed race at Perth. The step up in trip might be the thing that unlocks a bit more out of her tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're going to talk about another Lucinda horse in a minute. And the horses certainly Ayr on Monday. I think they finished 1-2-1 at Ayr on Monday, Tuesday rather. And Peter Scudamore was down there with the horses. They all seem to be in really good form at the right time of the year. Remember, coming into these big meetings at Cheltenham and Aintree, where Lucinda and Skew have done so well. But Apple Away, yeah, it's a mare I like. I'm hoping there's a big race in her. You never know, it might just be Saturday. But again, I'm just going to keep an eye on this race. I wouldn't be getting too involved.
Then Beauport he's guaranteed a run in the Grand National. Twister sent him over hurdles in the long walk at Ascot, and he's keeping him over hurdles here in the Rendlesham. Is that just to keep him ticking over? I mean, he's going to be favourite here, but he's not going to get his ground, is he?
No, he's not going to get his ground, but they like injecting some speed into these horses before the Grand National, and I don't know about getting speed over 3 miles in the Rendlesham, but Beauport, and it's a horse you like, Robert, and I would not put anybody off backing him on Saturday, and certainly would not put anybody off if they fancied him for the Grand National. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think if you get a bit of rain, I mean, they never let the Grand National course get too fast anyway these days, but if you get a bit of rain, I think Beauport's got a right chance in the National. But I find it fascinating that he's just sticking over hurdles with him and going these marathon trips. But I mean, the Rendlesham's a lovely race to win, and
it really is.
It's a decent pot. So I mean, the way he ran it at Ascot, I think he deserves to be favourite in this if he does go off favourite.
Yeah, and the other race we're interested in at Haydock very much so is the horse I alluded to a second ago, Derryhassen Paddy. Again, a horse that you and I have talked about a lot on this programme. Goes for the Prestige Grade 2 Novices hurdle over 3 miles at Haydock on Saturday. They confuse and muddy the waters by calling this the Albert Bartlett. Obviously, it's a trial for the Albert Bartlett at Cheltenham. Derryhassen Paddy could go for that Grade 1, or he could go for the 3 mile Grade 1 at Aintree, which of course Lucinda won with, was it Brindisi Breeze back in 2012, the Albert Bartlett? And she's also won that Sefton, the Grade 1 at Aintree with a Hoy Senior. So she'll decide with Skew after Saturday where Derryhassen Paddy goes. Interestingly, in new ownership ahead of this race on Saturday, I did speak to Craig Nicholl, his former jockey at Ayr, on Tuesday. He just won a race on Cowboy Cooper, which I'd flagged up in the diary column last Sunday, won at 9-1. And I did say to him after that race, are you looking forward to Derryhassen Paddy on Saturday? And he looked at me and reminded me that the horse had changed ownership and he may not have the ride. He said at that point he still hoped he might, but it is going to be Derek Fox. And that's understandable, Robert, given that he is a stable jockey.
Yeah, you can understand that. Skew and Lucinda are very, very loyal to their jockeys. The thing is, this is a competitive race. This is one of the best
Very.
races of the day. I mean, you've got Moon Rocket, who was second in the River Dawn at Doncaster a few weeks back. You've also got a fascinating one called Battleborn Lad, who won at Hexham in October and beat a horse called Wendigo, who
Yeah.
went on to be second in the Challow behind the Superstar, the New Lion. Won again at Wetherby on Wednesday. The only slight concern I'd have about him is he had 3 quick runs last spring, put away, come back this season, and he's been off for 126 days since he won in October, which just makes me a wee bit worried that he's maybe had some sort of setback and he might not be 100% tuned up. But I think he's at Battleborn Lad. I think is a fascinating contender and what's going to be a really, really competitive race.
And what neither of us have remembered to mention is that Derryhassen Paddy has a £3 penalty.
Yeah.
Because he's won a Class 2, hasn't he? So it makes it even more difficult. But he's a horse I really like. He's a horse I love. And he'll get the soft ground on Saturday. I think I do remember Lucinda saying that she might swerve both of those Grade 1s at Cheltenham and Aintree if the ground came up quick at either or both. So this might well be his big race on Saturday. It's a very valuable Grade 2, and Derryhassen Paddy will do for me.
Yeah, I think they see him as the future with the over
Very
fences,
much.
don't they? They see him as their big hope for going forward the next few years, going chasing. So wouldn't surprise you at all if they don't get their ground, if they don't go. But as you say, they
Yeah.
won this race with Brindisi Breeze on the way to winning Albert Bartlett. So it's a race they know what they've got when they've got a good one.
They certainly do, Robert. And the other big meeting on Saturday is Ascot. And a horse I really like here in the Betfair handicap hurdle, that's at 225 is the top weight. It's a horse which did us a turn a couple of weeks ago at 3-1 over the course and distance. That is Alto Belly. Brian Carver, I thought, rode a really good race that day. Up £5, understandably, for that victory. The cheek pieces, which were on for the first time last time, have been retained. He's got top weight. I know that puts a lot of people off, but there's only an £18 weight range in this handicap. I don't think that'll be too much of a problem. A £5 rise, I think, is totally manageable. And Alto Belly, again, won't be a huge price, but I think Alto Belly is well up to winning again, especially at a track where he performs so well.
Yeah, we've also Ascot Chase is the main event on that card where you've got Pick Dory against Lahon Press and Corbett's Cross. I mean, that's going to be an absolutely fascinating. I'm not particularly confident of picking the winner on this, but it's got an
No,
absolutely fascinating contest, isn't it?
it really is a fascinating contest, and one that I think I will sit back and watch. You mentioned Blom Press and Pick Dory. They certainly seem to be the two principals. JJ Slevin seemed to be putting in a good word for Blue Lord, the Willie Mullins horse, obviously in the double green colours that he rides for, Munir and Suede. We'll see how Blue Lord performs. And of course, the interesting one has to be not the other Willie Mullins horse, the Emmett Mullins horse, and that is Corbett's Cross, which Mark Walsh will ride in the JP McManus colours. Slightly disappointing to some people in the King George at Kempton, but still ran a really good race. And I think Corbett's Cross worth keeping an eye on, just with the future in mind. And the future is obviously the short-term future where he runs at Cheltenham. So I'll be having a look at Corbett's Cross, but no bet for me.
We're talking about the future. We've got the Reynoldstown, which is the race for the novices, where you've got Lowry's Bar and Jinko Blue going head to head again. Jinko Blue won at Windsor. Lowry's Bar made a terrible mistake 3 out. Looked like he was going to have him in a bit of trouble. Can you see them reversing the placings there, Jim? Or do you think Jinko Blue, who now goes to the Brown Advisory with Django Bay going to the Arkle now that Sergino's out?
Yeah.
So this is Nicky Henderson's big Brown Advisory 3 mile chaser, novice chaser hope. So can you see Lowry's Bar getting the verdict over him?
He's entitled to if he jumps, but I just think Jinko Blue might have the edge again on Saturday, despite the weights turnaround. Again, it's a race for watching for me. Lowry's Bar is a horse I do like. He has seemed to have shown improved form for Philip Hobbs and Johnson White. £5 pool can be significant, might be significant, but Jinko Blue, I think, is probably good enough to win this Reynoldstown. This was always a really good test for Cheltenham back in the day. And I can see Nicky Henderson winning this and going on to have a real good chance with Jinko Blue in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, we've got a few handicaps in the card as well. One's the Swinley handicap, which I quite like high stakes player in. He was second to Chianti Classico, who everybody thought was going to be a Gold Cup horse this year. Unfortunately, he's got injured and we don't know if he's going to come back from that. But he was second to Chianti Classico here in November. We just sat off the pace, didn't get involved in a fight with him up front, which is sensible that day. The last twice he's been ridden a bit more conservatively. But I think if they go for the front with this one, I think he'd have a right good chance. He was only a length down on Chianti Classico at the last, which is no mean feat given how good that horse is. And I think if he goes out in front tomorrow, gets jumping, gets into a rhythm, I think 12 to 1 each way for high stakes players a decent bet.
Well, as the viewers will notice from the graphic, I'm not going against you in this one. All I'm going to say is just a quiet mention for Snipe, the Skelton horse. I think if that's an each way price, it might be worth each way to small stakes. But you make a great case for high stakes player, and I'll leave that one with you.
Back up the road on Sunday, we've got Musselburgh. We've had a look through the cards. I think we've picked out a couple, three actually. The 3:30 Hold On to the Line, which ran in the same race as Thistle Ask at the trials meeting a few weeks ago, over 2 miles, but steps up to 3 miles here, which I think might be the making of him. His dam was a point winner and also won an over 3 mile one on the track for Dennis Hogan, so I'd be confident he would get this tip. I think another one that'll probably be ridden fairly prominently, which I quite like at Musselburgh, James Ewart in decent form. He's had a few winners lately, so hold on to the line in the 3:30. Jim, I believe you like Anamanda in the 4 o'clock.
I do, and I'm hoping you might be with me on this one, Robert. Anamanda for Nick Alexander. Conor O'Farrell is going to be in the saddle. Has run 4 times this year, twice at Ayr, twice at Musselburgh. I think has run some really nice races. My proviso here is I still think she could probably do with another 3 or 4 pounds off, but Nick's horses are running really well. I don't think this is the best race in the world, and I think she might just be able to nick this, despite me thinking that the handicapper could do with dropping in another 3 or 4. So Anamanda, these weights in this class on Saturday. Conor O'Farrell, by the way, riding out of his skin with very limited opportunities at the moment. Nick Alexander, I want to mention because Nick provides everybody who wants it with a blog at his website at kinnison.com. And if you haven't read it, guys and gals, it really is fantastic. He talks about the horses running the next day. He talks about the horses which have run the previous day. You get a really honest assessment of everything he's run before and the horses that are about to run. And if you haven't seen that blog, at kinnison.com for Nick Alexander. I haven't checked yet to see what he said about Anamanda, so this is my opinion. I think Anamanda will run well and might just win on Sunday in the 4 o'clock. But I know you've got a fancy in the 3:30, Robert. Arctic Ambition.
The 4:30, Jim. 4:30.
Right.
No, 3. Is it 3:30?
Yeah, it's been moved to 3:30.
Sorry. Yep. Arctic Ambition, a horse I saw at Cartmel last summer, and I thought, there's a bit to work with there for Paul Robson, who got him off out the Gordon Elliott yard. He then had a fibrillating heart after that, which is a slight concern, but the horse has been brought back to normal. His heart rate's fine, whatever. Stable's been a wee bit quiet lately because Paul ended up getting he got hurt and spent 3 weeks in hospital.
Yeah.
Stable's been having a bit of a quiet time, but he had Diamond Mix at Newcastle on Thursday, which ran a cracking race at a big price, so it will be coming into signs of life again. Arctic Ambition goes. He's a 5-time winner in Ireland, and every time was on a right-handed track. Musselburgh on Sunday, back to a right-handed track. He's now £20 lower than when Paul got a hold of him a year and a bit ago. I think he'd be one worth watching in the market. I think he's certainly can be very competitive in this. If he gets back to the Cartmel form, he's tailed off a little bit since he ran there last summer. But if he gets back to that Cartmel form, I think he could be pretty competitive in this.
Yeah, and Craig Nicholl in the saddle. We mentioned Craig not being on Derryhassen Paddy, so good luck to you and to Craig with Arctic Ambition, and I hope Paul can get a winner with that horse, if not on Sunday, then very, very soon. Because as you mentioned, he has been in the wars himself, and great to see his horses starting to run well. So good luck to Arctic Ambition. I think we're going to finish this week, Robert, just having a look at a Cheltenham races we've been doing over the past couple of weeks. And this week we're going to focus on the Ryanair. And I noticed that the Cheltenham preview nights have started. Ruby Walsh is in full flow, and he says back to file wins the Ryanair. So there you are. You've had it from the horse's mouth. Why waste the next 2 minutes, Robert?
Oh, it's quite difficult to argue with that, but we need to waste the next 2 minutes, Jim. He's, I mean, he's very much deservedly favourite, and unless something happens to Galloping Deschamps, it seems pretty set in stone that he's coming here, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly does. And all joking aside, of course, Fact to File is going to be a worthy favourite. And if Ruby says it's going for the Ryanair, then it's going for the Ryanair. And apparently he was quite adamant that it was going to win. The one I just want to mention at this stage is Spillane Tower. Now it's only got one entry at Cheltenham. It wasn't entered in the Gold Cup, so they avoided the temptation of even going for the Gold Cup. It is a young horse, does have time on its side, so it may well be that it misses the meeting altogether and comes back next year. But with a non-runner, no bet proviso, I think we're on pretty safe ground. Spillane Tower is a horse trained by Jimmy Mangan, very small time trainer in Ireland these days, only has a few horses, so impossible to tell if his horses are in form or not. All the best form of this horse, all the best form from this horse has been right-handed, because a lot of the big races in Ireland are at Fairyhouse and Punchestown. But he has won a hurdle at Naas, and he's also finished second and fourth over fences at Navan. So he can go left-handed. I don't have any problem with that. I think he's a young horse on the up. I think Cheltenham might just bring him alive. And I think that Spillane Tower, at the prices at the moment, non-runner, no bet, is the one to be with. Do you have any contrasting opinion?
Well, I would say the non-honourable bet's the key here, because I did hear Jimmy
Yep,
Mangan on Nick Luck's podcast a couple of weeks ago, where he
you
talked
did.
about they brought him over for the King George, and he said the horse didn't travel particularly well.
Correct.
So he wasn't 100% sure whether they would just leave him in Ireland this year and wait. So
Yep.
the non-honourable bet's key to that, because you don't want to get stung and then the horse now it doesn't get declared or doesn't come. I mean, Gaelic Warrior, I mean, as low as 3-1 some places, you surely couldn't be interested in backing him at the moment, given the way he's run. Jello for Venetia Williams, be interesting enough at 12s, given
Yep.
form he's showed. Protector at last year's winner, very impressive in the Fleur de Lis. Was that maybe his day? Beat
Maybe.
beat Jello that day, but was that maybe his day? And the fascinating one for me again is the one I put up to King George, Ile Francais. But we
Yep.
don't seem to know where this horse is going, so he's another one you could only entertain non-run or no bet. I mean, he's entered in the Champion Chase as well. He's entered in this. I mean, I think they've taken him out of the Gold Cup, haven't they?
Yeah, yeah, he's not going to run the Gold Cup. If he runs
Yeah,
anywhere, it'll be in this, I would think.
yeah,
He's a horse, Robert, I cannot get a handle on.
yeah.
Ile Francais. I mean, he can look brilliant, he can look a total dud. Cannot get a handle on him at all, so I would not be interested in that. And you've mentioned a few horses that you would have to consider. Jello, I would agree with you. You would have to consider at those odds as well. Just going back finally to Spillane Tower, I know we're running out of time. We go back to the highly paid JP McManus advisors. They'll decide whether Spillane Tower runs at Cheltenham, not Jimmy Mangan. So non-runner, no bet. That's the way to go. Spillane Tower for me.
That's brilliant, Jim. Thanks very much. Good luck with your bets
Thanks,
this weekend, folks.
thanks, Robert. All the best, guys and gals.
Cheers.